don't matter what your name is, share your story. We'll be waiting for the haters won't.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to For the Haters. Today, we're diving into a story about resilience, advocacy, and the journey of navigating a rare medical condition as a parent. Our guest, Nicole, is a mother of twins and the fierce advocate behind her son Benjamin's journey with Hirschsprung's disease. After a long fight to get doctors to take his condition seriously, Nicole didn't just stop getting the care her son needed. She became a powerful voice for other families by joining the Reach HD board. Now her son Benjamin is leading the way as a children's ambassador, inspiring and supporting the next generation of kids with Hirschsprung's disease. This conversation is all about the challenges of being a medical advocate for your child, the power of community, and what it means to turn a difficult diagnosis into a mission to help others. Let's get into it. Nicole.
Hey, how's it going?
Welcome to For the Haters.
Thank you so much for having me. So excited.
Thank you for being here. If we could just start by you giving us a little back history about you and yourself and a little bit to get to know you a little better.
Awesome. So my name's Nicole, and as Becky said, I have a son with a rare disease, but he is also a twin, and I have a 21-year-old daughter. But where I started is I was born and raised for some of my life in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And then my parents moved us up to Colorado when I was 11. I am the oldest of four. I have a sister that's 2 years younger, a sister that's 11 years younger, and then a brother that just turned 18.
Oh, wow.
So my family dynamic, we have us at all different age ranges. And then when I was 15, my stepfather adopted me. And so I took his last name and I was raised by him. He just recently passed. So this is actually what inspired me to reach out to you, was my dad. You had made a post about your dad. Then I thought I would reach out to you. And then here we are. And so now I'm just living in Colorado with my husband and my twins and advocating for Hirschsprung's disease.
And so you have your husband. How old were you when you met your husband?
This is the funniest story. So I was 27. I was coming out of court with my ex, or my daughter's father. And let's not call him an ex because he wasn't. He's just my daughter's father. And I went to a place called Dads and Dudes Brewery. It's like a pizza joint in Aurora, Colorado. And I saw this guy and I looked at my friend and I go, I'm going to marry that guy. And she just looked at me. She's like, you're nuts. And 8 months later, I married the guy.
Okay.
And he was pretty fresh out of a divorce. But I just knew, like the second I saw him, I was like, there's something, like it's almost like I could see into him. I was like, that's the guy.
Yeah. And how long ago was that?
We just celebrated on April 18th, our 13th anniversary.
Wow.
So we've been married for 13 years. And let me just tell you, having twins, a medical condition, a custody situation, we're doing really well for how much we've been through in 13 years.
And what's his name?
His name's Chris.
Okay. Chris. Nice. That's fun. 13 years is a long time.
You know what? Everybody just told us if we could make it through the first 5, it gets easier. And I agreed. And then it gets really hard too, still. And then after 10, I was like, okay. And we're still thriving. I know what I want and he knows what he wants. And at the end of the day, we both have the same end game goals. Mm-hmm. But, it's taken a little while to get there.
And so Benjamin's one of the twins. Correct?
He is the oldest of the two twins it's super cool, by 37 minutes. One was born at 12:15 and the other was born at 12:51. So the times were just transverse. Yeah.
I didn't know that twins could be born so far apart.
I naturally delivered them with a room full of medical students. They literally, so the birth was a little traumatic. So actually the entire pregnancy was traumatic, to be really honest with you. So taking a quick step back, twins run in my family. My grandfather has twin sisters. And since I was probably 5, I've always told people I'm going to have one kid and then I'm going to have twins. And I have 6 cousins and a sister on that side of my family. And I just always knew in my life it was going to be me that had the twins. So when I found out I was pregnant, which was 3.5 weeks after Chris and I got married, I looked at him after taking the test. I walked out and I said, hey, I'm pregnant. And by the way, just so you know, it's going to be twins. And he's like, shut up. Don't wish that on us, please. So we go on our honeymoon, and he had never been to Disney. So, of course, I had to do that because I brought my daughter with us, too. And we go to our first ultrasound appointment, and we had to go to a high-risk doctor, right? Because I'm 27, it's twins. And I go in, and the ultrasound tech puts it on me, and she like looks at me, looks at the screen, looks at me, and then she goes, "Are you doing fertility medication?" And I said, "Nope, but there's 2 in there, isn't there?" And she goes, "Yes, ma'am, there is." And my husband looked at me, and he just like all the color drained from his face. And I was like, "I told ya." And at that point, he probably should have known I was always going to be right. But so we found out we were pregnant. They told us the entire time we were having a boy and a girl. At 22 weeks, they were like, "We're so sorry. We messed up. It's actually 2 boys." That was a little traumatic for me because I only wanted girls. I prayed, "Just give me girls. I'm a girl mom. I'm girl mom." And to have 2 boys was a shock. So thankful for them. But definitely it was, you grieve what you thought you were going to have. I was in for extreme hypermethesis all the time. I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah.
But at the time, what is her name? Kate Middleton, or isn't that the prince's wife?
Yeah.
She was in the hospital all the time for it too. Like, you're just so sick. Like, I was so sick my entire pregnancy. I had a Zofran pump hooked up to me at all times. I was in and out of the hospital all the time, and we couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I was just so sick. I was losing weight. When I actually delivered the boys, I looked like I was 7 months pregnant with 1 baby. One night I woke up, it was... so the boys were born in November, so a week before Thanksgiving, and I was just like, I don't feel right. Like, we need to go to the hospital. And so my dad came over to be with my daughter, and we drove into the hospital, and they immediately, hooked me up to everything. And then like, "Hey, we're going to give you whatever they give you to stop labor." They give you something to try to stop labor. Magnesium, I think. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
God only knows. I'm pretty sure somewhere along those lines. And they gave it to me, and it had like the reverse effect and put me into immediate labor. And like,
how many weeks were you?
I was just shy of 34. So the boys were born like 33 and a half weeks pregnant. And when I got to the hospital, that's when they hooked me up. That's when they tried to give me the medicine. They also then gave the medicine that helps the boys' kidneys develop a little bit quicker in case I had to deliver. And I was like, what are we doing? They leave. Nobody really comes in. Never saw my doctor till I delivered. They come in and they're like, so you're actually dilating and we need to get you into labor room like now. And I was like, okay, well, I'm delivering naturally. And they're like, well, we're going to put you on a surgical table because you're probably going to get cut open. And I'm like, not probably going to get cut open. I'm delivering these guys naturally. We went back and forth. I just said, fine, put me in there. We had 2 women holding my legs, 1 woman behind me giving me ice chips, another woman to my right, my husband to my left, a doctor, my doctor, the anesthesiologist, or whoever's in there giving whatever medications. And then we had a NICU team for 1 baby, a NICU team for the other baby. And then they come in right before I'm about to deliver, and they go, "Hey, we don't really get to see a lot of vaginal twin births. Do you mind if we have all of our students that are here watch?" They just all walked in and lined up the back wall.
A full audience.
It was a lot. Like, it was so many people in the room. And the only thing I really, like, it's such a vivid memory, but one thing that I vividly remember is that the doctor put her own music on. And we can remember what Benjamin was born to. He was born to Over the Rainbow. We cannot remember what Bentley was born to Save Our Lives. Like, we have both racked our brains, but it was a lot. And she thought for sure that she was going to have to cut me open.
Is that typical? I get
so like with a lot of twins, a lot of people do C-sections. A lot of times it's hard for the babies to flip.
Okay.
Benjamin was stuck in flux, which just means like he couldn't move at all. Like, he was stuck in like my vaginal canal and his legs were here. So Bentley grew in my hip. So he, to this day, is like squishy and pliable when you touch him. And Benjamin's like stiff as a 2x4. It's the most bizarre thing. He has a lot of muscle tone. Whatever all that medical stuff is. But no, it's not. I would say it's more common to have a C-section with twins than it is to not, in my experience of having friends with twins. And so I go to deliver Benjamin. I get him out, 12:15, he's born. And when I tell you, you've never seen so many women jump on somebody. I had all these nurses just jump on my stomach. And I was like, what's going on? They're like, we're keeping the other baby in place so he doesn't flip. If he doesn't flip, you can give birth naturally. Like, you don't have to get cut open. And I'm like, okay. And they literally just pushed him down. It was so bizarre. They pushed him down. And then 37 minutes later at 12:51, I had Bentley. Both boys, I got to see Benjamin, but they immediately took him to like the incubator. The NICU team started working on him. And then I got to see Bentley next to me. And then again, NICU team took him. I'm still in there. They're in the NICU. I actually had a really crappy experience with the doctor I had. It wasn't my normal doctor because I was high risk. It was a different doctor. It wasn't the best experience. I went back to my room and I never saw her again, ever. Like, she didn't come check on me, nothing. So thank God that I had amazing nurses. And in fact, one of my friend's nieces was one of my nurses, and the same friend, her sister was one of my NICU nurses. Yeah. So it kind of was super comforting, but I didn't get to see the boys till, I would say, 12-ish hours after I had them, maybe 13.
Oh, wow.
Like, they were in the NICU. My husband got to go see them, but like, I had to recover. I had to be able to like get up and walk around for so long. So I just had like a super traumatic birth, all these things, everything seemingly.
Were there any complications with him, or is it just, I think, I remember, is it like anything before 35 weeks?
Yep,
is
they automatically go in.
NICU?
They told us they were going in as breathers and growers. Like, that's how they said it. We need to keep them. They're breathers and growers. So the typical 1.5 days, they're like, they're still, jaundice, and we need to keep them going. So we're going to release you. Well, nobody tells you what it's going to be like to have you go home and leave both your children at a hospital.
Yeah.
That was rough. And I had already had a daughter, but like, that experience was so different.
Yeah.
And these are my husband's first kids. Let me preface all that with that these were his first kids. So he is like looking to me to help him know what's right and what's wrong. We leave the hospital. And like, every day you can go back up to the hospital, you can visit them during the day, but then they have like the quiet hours in the NICU. And so we could only see them certain times of the day. I would go up, I would spend the day with them, and then I would leave, go home, sleep, call the nurses 3 times at night. I had a little journal. I'd write everything the nurses would tell me down, which is really nothing different, right? This is how many ounces they ate, all these things. Nothing seemed off about anything, but Benjamin wasn't eating. They ended up, I think the hardest part of the NICU for us was they ended up putting a tube in his head to feed him, to give him nutrients or something, but it was in his head.
Interesting.
And so like, that was hard to see. Bentley got to come home at 2 weeks. So 2 weeks, Bentley got to leave. And they were like, okay, he's good. His oxygen, he did the whole car seat test. All was good. Benjamin was still struggling to eat. And one of the things that my cousin, who had twin boys who are about 4 years older than mine, one of the things that she told me before I had the boys was be prepared to have a C-section. 2, be prepared to use donor milk. I never even thought of that. I don't think a lot of people think about using donor milk. And she's like, but you need to mentally prepare for it because it's going to feel a type of way.
Yeah.
And so it was weird. They came to me and they're like, hey, you're not, your supply's not a ton. Do you mind if we use donor milk? And I'm like, oh, thank God my cousin told me about this. And so we used donor milk, and Benjamin still wasn't taking that. He was having a really hard time. So they were like, well, we'll have the doctor do some tests. So they came back and they told us that he had a milk protein allergy with necrotizing. I have no idea what all of that meant, but it just meant that he had to be on special formula called Neocate that is $50 a can per formula, per thing of formula. So they put him on Neocate. He did okay, did well enough that after about a month, he was able to come home. But then for the first year and a half, Benjamin was in and out of the hospital all the time. Like he'd get really pale. We'd take him in. Nobody could ever figure out. They're like, oh, it's his milk protein allergy. Let's just give him some IVs and fluids. About 16 months, 17 months, I started just noticing that he was not sitting much. He always stood. Even when he was little, he just liked to be inverted. Sleeping, he had to sleep at an incline. we had like a nap nanny. They're not relevant anymore unless they redid them. But we had this like thing we put in his crib that was like just a nice little incline chair. And that's how he slept, in this like incline chair. We slept, my husband would sleep on the floor in the nursery, and we'd rotate nights so that we'd both get some sleep. Am I talking too fast? Like, do you need to ask anything?
No.
I'm like, hold on, let me get the story. So, but he was always like acid reflux. Like, he was just like really difficult, but he was just always upright. Like, fine if he was in a walker. You laid him down. It was screaming, painful. And I'm like, okay, this isn't normal. Like, I know what it's like to have a kid that's colicky or just like whiny.
Yeah.
But he was so stiff. You know, I had gotten them into PT, OT, all that stuff really early on through resources at the hospital. And
So it seems like there was never really not a time that like his health wasn't a concern.
Right.
Right.
Like, he always,
like ever since birth, there was always just something like
underlying.
Yeah.
But nobody could figure it out. And I mean, probably before we even started this journey with Hirschsprungs, we had probably been to the ER 4 or 5 times and then admitted to Children's Hospital and tests ran, all these things. And so we went to California when they were 18 months old, and I have this picture of Benjamin on the beach, and he just looks like this tiny little baby standing up, but he looks pregnant. Like, his stomach is so distended that he looks, and I just kept looking at the picture, and I'm like, this doesn't look right. Like, it doesn't feel right. So I started asking for tests to be done. And so our primary care physician, obviously that's not what they do. And she's been with us since my daughter was born. So we've been with this wonderful doctor for 21 years. And she's like, hey, let me refer you, let's go to GI, do all the things. So we get referred, and we go and we do x-rays, and they're like, okay, he's good. It doesn't look like anything. It just looks like, maybe some gas, rub his stomach, all the little remedies or home remedies. And I'm like, okay, again, I'm 27. This is my first set of twins. There's a lot going on.
Yeah. And it's frustrating too. Like, not feeling like you're taken seriously, or, there not being an extra step thought in the process.
Yeah, kind of dismissive, right? Like,
yeah,
you're just a new mom, or you just haven't had kids in a while, so here you go. And so I have family that is in the medical field. I have a few, cousins that are nurses. I have an uncle that's a doctor, and at that time, and I am like, hey, I'm going to send these x-rays to my uncle. Like, I was like, I'm going to just see what his thought is. And I believe he's ER doctor, right? So I'm like, he sees a lot coming in and out. So I send him these things, and he gives me a call, and I'm like, hey, should I be concerned? And he goes, Nicole, that is not what intestines look like. He's like, that is not okay. He's like, you need to really fight for a biopsy. And I'm like, well, what are intestines supposed to look like? Again, how do I know this?
Yeah.
And he's like, it should look like a rainbow. Well, if you look at the picture, it's just knots. Like, it's just compiled knots. And so I go back and I call the hospital. I'm like, hey, I really want to get my son in for a biopsy. And they're like, they give me the push off. Well, why don't we do another round of x-rays? And I said, no. Like, I have somebody that is in the medical professional. No, they're not in Colorado, but they're telling me I need to fight for a biopsy. So we go in to get my son biopsied, and it was so strange. We were in a room talking to the doctor right before this biopsy is going to happen, and they're prepping Benjamin, and they asked my husband to step out of the room, and I thought that was odd. And so my husband steps out, and they're with him, and I'm in the room, and I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
And they come back in, and my husband is like, hey, come out here really quick. And I'm like, okay, this is all so bizarre. So I go out there, and he's like, I need you to tell me, how serious of an issue? Like, do you think there's something really, really wrong with Benjamin? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? Of course I think there's something really, really wrong with our son. And he's like, I need to know, like, how serious you are. And I'm like, why? And he goes, because if there's nothing wrong with him, they're going to press charges against you for Munchausen syndrome. And I said, excuse me?
Oh, what?
Like, mind you, again, my husband's never had children. We are freshly married. I mean, we're only 9 months into our marriage. And as you know, I said, we've only known each other before that 8 months. So he has to trust me with his firstborn son. And he looks at me, and I just said, I'm certain. I said, you have to trust me. There is something wrong with our child. And he goes, okay. So he walked in with me. We went in hand. He goes, my wife says there's something wrong with our son. We want the biopsy. And they go, you do know the consequences. And I'm like, yeah.
I feel like that's kind of like a threat. Like,
Oh, it was 1,000% a threat. Like, that's exactly what it almost felt.
I've never heard of like someone threatening with that. Like, but that's like feels illegal to even do.
Right?
Yeah.
Let me tell you. And at that point, it's like, I can't even think of anything. All I care about is like what's going on with Benjamin. Mm-hmm. So the biopsy was so stressful, right? Because I have in the back of my head, I know something's wrong with my kid. In the back of my husband's head, he's like, what if she gets taken from me and we have to go through this whole process? And now I have twin babies and, a 9-year-old at home and Nicole's not going to be here.
Yeah.
So we get the biopsy done, and that was on August 24th. August 26th, and that was 3:00 on August 24th, right? So closing time, all that.
Yeah.
August 26th, I get a call. I'm at a park with a friend and her kids. Hi, is this Nicole Perry? It is. You're Benjamin's mother? I am. Can you get to an emergency room within the next hour? Excuse me? How soon can you be at an emergency room with Benjamin? I said, now? And they're like, we need to get him in now. He has this rare disease that could actually kill him. Oh, okay. So you're threatening me, but now I have to rush to a hospital.
Yeah.
So we rush to a hospital. I have no idea. They tell me the word Hirschsprungs. I have no clue what that means. I am literally loading these babies into the car, calling everybody like, who can come get the other baby? Let me get him in, calling my husband to get him home from work. We go to the hospital and they're like, we need to do surgery on him immediately. It's called an anal rectal pull through. So I'm like, okay, what are we doing here? And they're like, we have to go and we have to remove part of his bad intestines. So what Hirschsprung's is it's when your ganglionic cells in your intestines are missing. So those sensors, like, I don't know, if you drink coffee or some people that smoke a cigarette, you feel that need to go to the bathroom. You're like, oh, I got to go to the bathroom now.
Yeah.
Those sensors didn't exist for Benjamin. So there was stool just building. And like when he would go to the bathroom as a baby, it would be like birthing. Like we would have to help him. We'd have to like guide it.
Yeah.
There's all these things that we were like, we just thought was constipation. In reality, it was the stool just staying backed up and backed up and backed up. And all those knots in his intestines and all the stuff that they said was just gas was just stool from who knows when. I mean, it never smelled like normal baby stool. It always smelled so different. Like there's just this very distinct smell to it.
Yeah.
So we go into surgery and I have no idea what's going on, but the whole surgery, my husband's pacing and I'm just, what is Hirschsprung's? Is there Hirschsprung's forums? Where can I find any information? This is, 12 years ago or 10 years ago. They didn't diagnose him till he was almost 2. You should be diagnosed at birth. That first black tarry stool that people have, and I'm not going to try to say it because I'm going to botch the name of it. It's like melon something. That first stool generally is an indicator. If you don't have that first stool, that's an indicator of Hirschsprung's, right? Well, Benjamin had like just the tiniest amount, like pea size. And so they just assumed that was that first stool. And so they never even explored Hirschsprung's.
How does that feel once you get that diagnosis though? Like, is it a relief for you because you have like a name to the cause of all of this, or is it just automatically more concern because you like are fearing what that disease is?
I think for many people it goes straight to like, we don't know what this is. For me, I think I just blocked both of those things out and was like, facts. I'm a fact finder. Like, give me facts. I need to figure out what to do. Like, I'm not going to wait for somebody to get me answers. I had already knew I was right. And so now I was like, now I'm going to research and I'm going to challenge everything these doctors are saying. Mm-hmm. Well, there's not a lot about Hirschsprung's, or there was not at the time a lot about Hirschsprung's. So the most I could find was like basic, what you can Google information. And then I came across a webpage called Reach HD. And I like messaged them and I'm like, hey, I just found this out. Hopefully somebody will get back to me. So we go through that surgery and he had a colostomy bag. So part of the surgery is they pull the intestines, they cut the bad cells out, then they leave the intestines like free floating to heal. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, he has a colostomy bag. So imagine a 2-year-old with a colostomy bag.
I didn't realize colostomy bags could be a temporary thing.
Yeah, they can. So Benjamin's so that was the goal, was we were supposed to do 6 months of a colostomy
Do you want to
bag.
just explain what a colostomy
yeah.
bag, like I know but in case someone's listening
So
that
a
doesn't.
colostomy bag is when they pull the small intestines out, and you literally put a bag on your stomach and you poop into a bag. Like you stool into a bag. And that's hard for any human being. Now we have a 2-year-old with this thing on him, and 2-year-olds, they move, they're a lot. So we had a colostomy bag, which was probably the hardest part of the whole journey, was that, because it would just pop, and getting him in and out of a car seat. And if it filled up with air, because sometimes colostomy bags don't even fill up with stool, they just fill up and expand with air, then they can pop and then they can explode. So he comes out of surgery with the colostomy, and we're just in the ER waiting for him to heal so we can go home. And his small intestine starts turning purple. And I'm like calling the nurse, and I'll never forget this nurse's name. Her name was Calypso, and I thought it was the coolest name that she had this. And she's what saved his small intestine. Like, she kept telling the doctor something's wrong, and they're like, no, it's good. Well, doctors see so much, they do so much, and a lot of the times I just take the nurses. they usually are more in tune with what's going on. So she kept fighting. Well, they ended up killing off that part of his small intestines. He had to go back in that same day or next day for a second surgery on healthy intestines. And they had to remove that. So that was super traumatic and not part of the plan, right? So we leave the hospital with a colostomy bag. That didn't go well, and we're supposed to do it for 6 months, and there's just no way. Like, Benjamin was in and out of the ER all the time for different reasons. His stoma would come out. It would protrude really, really far out, and that's kind of scary, right? Like, if you're a parent, you're not in the medical profession, you're not planning to see intestines like come all the way out, and then what do you do with it? I don't know.
Yeah.
So one of the days we went back to the ER because it protruded out so far that I was like, what if he like passes away because of this? So we go back and they're like, you know what? Let's just reverse his surgery now. Like, let's just get rid of the colostomy. Let's go back in. Let's operate. Let's attach the intestines back together, and let's go from there and see what happens. So we do that, and we have to learn. So it's called irrigations. So because he was not getting able to stool that way and he was still fresh, we'd have to irrigate him, which is like similar to an enema, but we'd have to put like a giant tube up him and dilate him. Dilating is awful. Help his rectum, colon, bowel open up. And that was like traumatic for us as parents to do, right? Because like we're at home doing this. We had an in-home nurse that would come once a week and like help figure out how to do things. And that was like super helpful. We had a lot of really great resources, but it still doesn't take away from the fact that like we're the parents, and here we are like torturing this little boy.
Yeah.
And he was we would talk through it with him. Like, this is okay that we're doing this because the doctors said we could.
Yeah. I mean, then that's what I was sitting here thinking about. Like, how do you, if a kid is that young and that's what they're experiencing, if that's their normal, like trying to juggle what is like, this is for medical reasons. This isn't like something that's acceptable outside of medical reasons. That's got to be a lot, like emotionally, and just for you to go through.
It was a lot emotionally. It was a lot for me and my husband emotionally, but like you said, that's what we'd have to do. Like every time we did anything with him, we were like, this is for medical purposes. Like, we didn't let people watch him. I mean, my mom, obviously, or like, my sister, but we wouldn't let people, A, because we didn't want to burden anybody else, but B, you're right. At 2, 3, when this is all going on, we don't also want him to think that like anybody could touch him, especially because it was in his bum, right?
Yeah.
So like, it was a lot to process, a lot to think through, but also in the back of my head, I just was always like, no matter what, I'm never going to let this own him. Like, he is going to be just like any other child. Yeah, like I wanted him to be able to do anything his twin brother could do, right? Like, so we did. So we worked with him, but he was just still always in and out of the hospital, right? We could just, even after the pull through surgery, like, he was still troubling stooling, still troubling. This poor little boy would, potty training, we literally would have to just sit him there for quite some time to try. And it just wasn't working, and I just still wasn't getting a lot. Well, in that meantime of this like year and a half of all this going on, this wonderful woman, Liz, who's part of the Reach HD board, she reached out to me and we started conversations, and she's like, tell me your story. And she's part of the board. She's in Canada, and so she does the Canadian side of the Reach board. And then Eric and his wife, Isabel, who started Reach HD, they're out in Boston. And so they have access, to those doctors. And there's a couple doctors that sit on the board. And so she's talking me through this, and she's like, here are some suggestions. Here are some helpful thoughts. And as we progressed in our relationship, she was like, do you want to come out, meet us? Would you like to be part of this board? And I'm like, what an opportunity, right? Like this woman is giving me an opportunity to delve into everything Hirschsprung's related. Now I can have doctors that sit on the board with me, and I can get questions answered.
Yeah. You can have access to those like different resources. But before we move too far ahead in just the journey of this medical condition, what does parenting look like for you differently, and like advocating for your child? What difference did this challenge make for you in the way that you just have like an outlook on advocacy for your children?
So I had always advocated for my daughter, right? Because that was a different situation. So I knew what advocacy was like, for advocating for like, parenting time, all these different things, but never medically, right? I never had to medically advocate. But here is this little kid who can't tell exactly how he feels, but I'm his mom. Like when they say mother's intuition, it's not a lie. Like you feel it in your soul. But had I not advocated for him in the first place, I don't even know if Benjamin would be here. So it's like I had to have a voice for him, because how is he supposed to become an adult? How is he supposed to live independently and do all these things if I'm not over here asking the questions? And then at that point, I don't trust doctors at all.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, well, I'm going to ask every question, but then I'm also going to go back to people I know that are in the medical field, and I'm going to find out more questions to ask. I think it just made me really like hard and cold towards doctors, to be really honest with you.
Which I think is fair, right? Like you almost like your trust is just broken, and unfortunately it like expands beyond the singular person that broke it. It's just like the system in general.
I just didn't feel safe. Like I didn't feel safe with minus our primary, right? But a primary care physician, that's not what their specialty is.
Exactly.
But anybody with a scalpel, like I had a really hard time trusting doctors.
And what does the journey look like till now from a therapy and recovery for Benjamin?
Where is he at now?
Just throughout, like, what is that, because I want to get into the board and into Reach HD, but what does those next couple years look like for him? Are there other surgeries? Is there therapy?
So the irrigations, it became too much almost even as parents to do. It felt so violating, and that was just, we didn't want to open those traumas for my husband and I, so we reached back out and we're like, we got to figure something else out. Well, at that time we were with Children's Hospital, and it just didn't seem like we were getting anywhere. So we decided to pivot and move to a different children's hospital. And they're like, oh, this doctor knows about Hirschsprung's or whatever. And so we go in and we talk to them, and we're like, hey, the irrigations aren't working for us. Like, we're not going to do them. Do you have any other, not remedies, but any other things that we can do that isn't solutions, that isn't an irrigation, that isn't us torturing our own child? And then he brought to us a cecostomy. So I was like, okay. So he explained it to us. And so what a cecostomy is, and how it was originally explained to us, it's a little door, so a port, but it was like a little door on his stomach they would put in. And basically what we would do is we'd hook up an IV bag to it with saline and Miralax. And he's like, and we would put it in, and you'll drain the IV like bag into it, and it'll basically give him enema from the inside out, and like push it out. So that seemed way less invasive, right? Like I could hook a bag up. So we had him do the initial surgery, and he's like, you're gonna have to come back and get this replaced frequently, annually is what we were told. So Benjamin, I mean, he's 12 now, but before, I mean, he's had over a dozen surgeries.
Yeah.
And that's...
Are there any changes to like his life from like food consumption? Is there food that you avoid? Like, are you restricting
These are all
him
great questions.
Yeah.
So there are foods to avoid, but everybody's different. And Benjamin, it's funny because he eats this way now. Benjamin didn't really truly eat for the first almost 2 years of his life, right? Like, obviously we sustained him nutritionally and he got probiotics and we did, we would try kombucha. We would try everything for this kid, but he didn't really get a taste food and really feel what food felt like until he was 2. And he just all he did was wanted to eat. But you don't retain a lot of it, right? Like it's going in, it's not coming out, it's piling up. So his food became a fear for him almost, right? Like if I eat, I know it's going to eventually make me have to poop. And that is very painful. That involves a lot of this, that, and the other. So he almost was like, nope. Like he wouldn't eat almost. Now he's the opposite. All this kid does is eat. We went in and we had the cecostomy placed. And we were like, this is going to be it. This is going to be like a semi-cure. So Benjamin's like 4-ish around this time. And so he has a port. And I'm like, cool. I'm going to ace bandage this. He's going to be able to play, peewee football and all these little things and do all the things that normal kids do. But he's just going to have this port on him. How the port worked, it was the cecostomy worked is we would, in the morning, we'd get him up and we'd hook up 500 cc's into a bag. And he would sit on the toilet for an hour and a half every single time we had to do it. Because here's the other part is like, it's not like a rapid thing. It's not like it goes through and it's like, boom, and now it's all out and you're done. It is painful. It is very acidic-y, so it can burn. He would get the most horrific rashes. We'd have to make like homemade butt paste because the diaper rash creams that you can get in a store would burn him even more because these are like open wounds now. And so there was just like a lot going on with it. And the cecostomies would help and they'd push it out. And we got into a really good flow of that. Like that was a really solid flow of time. But then I'm thinking school's coming. What are you going to do? Like, how is he going to go to school? I'm like, he can't go. So then we learned and figured out how to do it to where we could like do a flush in the morning and then a flush at night to try to avoid any stooling during the day.
Yeah.
But again, you don't
how
know
do
you
you
have to
prevent
poop all the
it?
time.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you just got to go. And so movement really makes Benjamin have to go. So like running, walking, any long walking, that would hinder, like we're a Disney family. We go to Disney all the time. And so like we always knew for the Disney trips, like where's every extra bathroom? Where's the family bathrooms that are private? And no bathroom stop is ever like a minute with Benjamin. It's always 15 to 20, sometimes even an hour long.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you just have to like rub his tummy and work it out of there and all these different things. But for a while, the cecostomy was really sustainable. But it was becoming like around kindergarten is when I was like, this is just... like he can't go to school and this be his life.
Yeah.
Like there's still some more that can be done. Well, at that point I was already part of the board. And so I met with one of our doctors who actually does like the research in the lab in Boston. And I like went through Benjamin's whole case with him, like at dinner one night when we had to go speak. I think we were in Houston. We had to speak at Houston's Children's. And we went out to dinner afterwards and I'm like, listen, let me just run some of this by you. And so he sat on it and he called me a few weeks later and he's like, what if we do a secondary anal rectal pull through? He's like, what I really believe is that they didn't go up far enough. So when they went up the first time, they probably should have went up just a little bit more than where the cells died off and cut up so that whenever they did reattach, it was like healthy cells, but they didn't go far enough up. So really when they reattached dead cells to healthy cells. So then all it did was like re-put him into everything.
Yeah, the same place he was.
Yeah, basically. But like because of the cecostomy, we didn't really notice that it was still as prominent because we had found this like rhythm and flow. And so In December of 2018, Benjamin and I flew out to Boston, and after some crazy tests, they have to do a balloon test, and they literally stick like a balloon up his rectum, and they see how far they can expand it to see like if his rectum moves. We did Botox in his rectum. We did all these things like preemptively before the surgery just to see if anything would work. But it really just boiled down to he needed a secondary pull through. And so he did that in December of 2018. And since that secondary pull through, and because our doctor went up further, they were able to attach healthy cells and reattach, right? So we're in a better place than we were ever. But I really attribute, and this is going to be super controversial, but I really attribute COVID to why Benjamin is where he is at today. Because
Why do you say, like, yeah, how come?
yeah, you're like, hold on, COVID?
Like,
Nobody likes COVID. COVID gave us time. COVID gave us so much time, right? Like,
yeah.
And so Benjamin was in kindergarten, in first grade. So kindergarten went really well. And that's when he had the secondary pull through, was at the end of kindergarten. And then what? First grade by March. So they go to school in August. So by March, they're out of school. And so we're like, okay, we're going to use this time to figure out a laxative regimen because he needs a laxative.
So the pull through makes him be able to to go by himself. He doesn't need the port anymore.
No, he still had the port. We still at this point had the port in 2018. The port was there as a catch-all, like a backup.
Okay.
What if he gets
Backed
super
up.
constipated?
Yeah.
There's risks to it, right? Like
Yeah.
stricturing is like if your intestines gets twisted, and I mean, you can get sepsis. I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen with your intestines. And so we kept it as a backup if anything happened. But he was still having like liquidy stools. No stool is ever like how it is supposed to be, right? But the goal was to get it to look as formed stool as possible. We just weren't having that. We were having a lot of like peanut buttery stool. We were having a lot of just watery stool. But when COVID happened, I was like, okay, we thought we were just on a 2-week lockdown. So we're like, cool, let's use this 2 weeks and let's adjust his laxative and what time we give it to him. And let's see if this works. And, you know, maybe we don't do the port at all for a whole week and see if like he's okay. Because we would always flush him at least once a week because maintenance, right? Like I don't want all that living up in there. And so we started doing this and we're like, nope, nothing's working, nothing's sticking. And then we switched because he would take X-Lax, like the chocolate. It comes in chocolate or a pill form. At this point, this kid is 5.5 years old, and he takes pills like a champ. Like my daughter couldn't even swallow like an Advil, and he's like, hand them to me, like I'll take them.
Yeah.
And so we switched from the chocolate laxative to the pill laxative, and I honestly don't know if that really makes a difference, but for whatever reason, and we moved it to the nighttime right before he went to bed. Because when you're relaxed, your bowels are able to calm down. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why they say like when women are, you know, giving birth and stuff, they may have a bowel movement. It's just because your body is like finally in a state of relaxation. So we moved his laxative to the nighttime thinking, okay, we give it to him at night. He can relax. All the stool can flow through his stomach, you know, without, and if he is feeling any pain, like he's asleep through it. Yeah. So it's almost like now that avoids the pain part of it. Because I don't know, if you take a laxative or you take too much Miralax or something, you do get crampy. Like it's not fun. And so then you like live in this state of like, do I have to go? Do I not have to go? That started to slowly work. And so we just stuck to it. And about 3 months into COVID, we were like, hold on, we don't think he needs a port anymore. Like he's stooling regularly 12 hours after I give him the laxative. So in 2020 during COVID, he had to have a separate surgery for an unrelated issue. But since they were already going in for surgery, we were like, can you remove the port? And so they called and consulted our doctor in Boston, and our doctor in Boston helped them. And he's like, it's really simple and whatever. So in 2020, he got his port removed. So Benjamin hasn't had a port in 5 years.
Wow. So that's huge.
I mean, so huge.
Yeah. What's, you know, for me, I'm sitting here and thinking through this, like, I'm just thinking about the kids that don't have the advocacy of their parents to push for this. Like the reason that he is where he is because of you, right? Like it's not because of a medical provider. It's because you pushed for answers. You pushed for, you know, helping him get to a place where the answer wasn't just living with a port for the rest of his life, right? And so, you know, I just feel a sense of just like sorrow for like those kids that might, or just people in general that go through this, that don't have someone advocating for them or incapable of advocating for themselves.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I appreciate you saying that. Like, right, my kids are everything to me. And I wanted him to have the most normal life he could have. I mean, whatever you have, right? Our other son is ASD, like our daughter's dyslexic. It doesn't matter what you have. You should have the ability to live a healthy, fruitful life no matter what. It may look different. You may have a little bit different challenges of getting from point A to point B, but you shouldn't. I never wanted my kids, but especially Benjamin, to look at like playing baseball or football and go, I can't do that because I have a rare disease.
Yeah.
That's a bummer. It's a bummer you have a rare disease, but also I didn't want him to pity himself either. Do you know what I mean? There's so much emotion that goes into it. I wanted him to be strong. I wanted him to know that it's okay to not be okay. Benjamin is the most empathetic, loving soul. And I mean, he'll see a kid fall down at Target and he's like, Mom, should I go help them? Like, he has that in him because of everything he's gone through. But he also knows how to advocate, and he advocates for people, not just medically, but like if he sees somebody being wrongly treated in school or whatever, Benjamin will be the first to like, Mom, hey, I saw this happen today, and should I go to this person or what should I do? And I think I also taught him to speak up when you see something that doesn't feel right, when you to use your voice and to help. And to your point, there's some of it is just the lack of knowledge, right? Sometimes we don't feel as parents like, well, they're doctors, they know, they're really, really smart, but challenge them because doctors are also human beings, right? They're not perfect either.
Yeah.
They make mistakes as well.
And how do you find the strength, right? How do you and your husband find that emotional strength to just continue and to, you know, just not fall down and feel bad that this is the situation that you're in? How do you keep pushing through that all?
You know, I'm gonna be really honest. I lived a lot of life before I even had my daughter at 18, right? And she really saved me from myself. And I felt like I had a purpose, and my kids became like all I did for a really long time. But then I knew at some point, like, they're not going to be all I ever do.
Yeah.
And how do you get through life without just trying to see the good and find the good and hope for change or difference? Like, for me, everything that I did, all underlying was A, so my kids could have a better life, but B, like, if I don't do it for myself, who's going to do it for me? And if I don't stay strong for me, like, of course we had an amazing support system. Of course we had family that, you know, meal trains and people that would offer to take the other twin while we were at the hospital with one twin. Like, we had a great support system, but at the end of the day, those people also have their own lives and their own priorities. And what if something happened and they needed to be pulled away? My husband and I had to lean on each other a lot. It was difficult. I'm going to tell you right now, I think the statistics say that 30% of parents of twins get divorced.
Oh, wow.
Then you add in a medical condition and it raises that percentage. And don't quote me, right? But like, if you Google it, there's some percentage of parents that have multiples that get divorced, and then add in a severe medical condition, and then that heightens the divorce level. And I'm not going to say that every day was great, because trust me, there was days that we both wanted to, you know, walk away from the whole situation. But at the same time, we both always, at the end of the day, had a goal of what we wanted for our lives, but what we wanted for our children's lives. And so I think we really, really held strong and steadfast to that. But honestly, looking back at it and talking to you about it today, it's so weird because I'm so far removed from that.
Yeah.
And it's so wild to look back and go, how the heck did I do all that and not break?
Yeah.
And not lose my mind and not, I mean, there are days that I'm like, how was I not locked up? Like, there were days I was crazy, or, you know, you're so overwhelmed that you just feel And then I just was like, I have to give myself grace too. Like, I've never done this before. Somebody give me a manual. If there's a manual or a handbook on how to be the perfect parent, I'd love to know. But
I don't think that's written. Yeah.
There's not. And so it's a lot of trial and error. And I think it's just my personality, right? Like, I think some of it is just who I am. I've always just tried to see the silver lining.
Which helps get through.
Yeah.
Have
you ever read Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Light?
No.
Okay. So I listened to it. It's like a 4-hour audiobook. But life is gonna life, and life is not gonna be good sometimes. And there's always gonna be controversy, and there's always gonna be people that don't agree. But if you just try to find the lesson or the silver lining in it, I think that makes a lot of difference. And so I think for me, I've always been that way because I've been on my own since I was 16 years old. I had an apartment. I've done my own thing my whole life, but I've never felt bad for myself about it. And I'm like, what is the lesson? What do I need to learn? What am I going to take from this? How am I going to help somebody else?
Mm-hmm. Is that kind of is that the advice that you would give to people, right? Or parents that might be going through this is just finding that silver lining and pushing through?
Finding the silver lining, but before they find the silver lining, they really need to trust their instinct. Here's the thing. Hirschsprung's is 10 years ago when I started my Hirschsprung's journey, barely any of the nurses that I have related to me or that I'm very close with even knew what Hirschsprung's is. About 5 years ago, my friend's niece, the same one I told you about, that was in the hospital with me, she messaged me and she said, hey, we did a nursing, they have to redo classes or they have like study days, whatever. And she's like, we had a whole day on Hirschsprung's. I said, excuse me? She goes like, no, it's like a whole day in the curriculum now, Hirschsprung's. Wow. A year later, I talked to another nurse. Hey, I did a whole thing on Hirschsprung's disease. Grey's Anatomy has had some episodes on Hirschsprung's. There's that medical show. I can't even think of the name of it, but the guy had autism in it.
The Good Doctor.
There you go, The Good Doctor. They did a whole episode on Hirschsprung's. But it can also be disguised as other things, right? It could be disguised as short gut. It could be disguised as just constipation. If you're a parent and you feel like something's off, like what are the doctors going to do? Look at me. I'm here. I was never processed for Munchausen syndrome. And it was so scary to be told that. But I truly feel when you're a parent, Yeah,
and your intentions were pure. Like it wasn't. There wasn't any malintention there to begin with.
I think they just didn't want to do that. I don't know what their deal was. But I just think the first step before all of the silver lining is to really just feel like it's okay to push back. I think a lot of people get afraid to push back because of a title or a job or like they're a doctor and I didn't go to Harvard Med School. I don't have a doctor's degree and all that. And I think a lot of people feel like, well, I'm just a stay-at-home mom or I'm just a this. No, you're not. You are this person's mother and you have every single right to question every single thing. Did you ever see that movie Enough with Jennifer Lopez?
Of course.
And they say, you have the divine right. Like I can't even quote the whole thing, but I think about all the time. You have this divine right to protect your children at all costs. And I think that part of protecting them is speaking up for them because until they have a voice, nobody's going to tell. You're the only one, really.
Yeah, absolutely. You spoke to Reach HD a little bit before. I'd love to dive into that a little bit more. Just, I know that Benjamin, he is a child advocate, right? We just started the advocacy. We really just started pushing the advocacy program. In fact, a few weeks ago, we just met. We had a Zoom call with all our advocates across the world. And Benjamin has always wanted to be really involved. So he's gone. We've spoken at a few different hospitals. The most recent one was, I believe, 2022. Don't quote me on the years. I'll have to look at the website. But we went to St. Louis. And Benjamin, he wants to be involved. He's seen it. He's seen these parents. And when we go to different hospitals and we speak to the medical staff, but we also invite parents and families out with HD. And, there's always a parent panel and conversations with the families. And I don't really feel like one Hirschsprung's journey is similar to they can be parallel and they can have a lot of similarities, but every Hirschsprung's journey is so different. Some people can live with Hirschsprung's their whole lives and not
really be overly affected. In fact, when my dad passed away, I found out that one of his cousins, and the only reason I found out about this is because that's where in lieu of flowers, he had people donate to Reach. And a cousin of his reached out and goes, hey, I've had Hirschsprungs my whole life. I didn't even know there's a resource for us.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, you are in your late 60s and you had no idea that there's like there is forums, there is, obviously Facebook pages now and all these different things, but there are places, especially reachhd.org, that you can go and you can find helpful like tips and tricks or Q&As, or I did a live stream with a child psychologist most recently who will talk about the mental health effects that Hirschsprung's has on kids. But to think that she has lived her whole life not even knowing that there's a community out there that she can just tap into and say like, hey, I'm having a crappy day and here's what the symptoms I'm having. What do you guys suggest? Like that makes me so sad. But
Jesus.
But now Benjamin has this place where he feels safe, and so he meets these other kids. He actually has one friend, they still play video games together occasionally, that he met 7 years ago. Yeah. So the ambassador program is really cool. I've been on the board now for about 10 years. I've been to the research lab in Boston where our awesome Dr. Goldstein is doing all his awesome research, and they do grants for hospitals. We do grants. Everybody writes in and what kind of research they want to do around Hirschsprung's, and there's an annual grant that's given out. But it's really cool to see now when we had this ambassador meeting the other day, I got off the call and I said, when I first started this journey, there was Liz, this amazing woman, and this board, and that's what I had, right? This board, and there wasn't a ton still. And now I was listening to a mother talk on this call the other day, and I was like, hold on, this is the next gen. Like, I can tap out now. Like, I'm getting close to the end of like where I'm at, and I can already see the future. Yeah. And I can see all these kids and parents. And how cool is it that Benjamin at 12 wants to do this? Like, he wants to advocate. And he wants to help other kids. And it's so funny because we did a podcast with Tom's Hirschsprung's podcast out in London. And he, at the very end, Benjamin goes, and here's my email. If anybody wants to email me and ask me any questions. Every board call we have, he's like, could you ask and see if anybody's emailed? And nobody's emailed yet. Yeah. But he wants so bad for another child to reach out and be like, hey, he's in middle school. He's a middle school boy. Yeah. Like, good thing farting's cool in middle school because... Right? That's a forever symptom is gas. You're really gassy. It smells funky. You never know when it's going to happen. Because he's just like, there's certain things you can't feel or tell down there. All the Botox he's had, all the other things, But he is like, I wonder what it's like. Well, we found out recently because, of course, you can't say anything because there's all these HIPAA laws. But we found out that there is a child that has Hirschsprung's at his school. We don't know who it is or anything about them, but we do know that there is a child. And so I leave a little card with the nurses. I give the nurses my information. I give them the Reach HD thing, and I say, tell these parents to reach out to me. Or if they don't even reach out to me, tell them to go to Reach and see the resources that they have there. Maybe... It's a shitty disease, right? Like, we literally have a shirt that says shit happens. And that's a hard thing to talk about. People don't always want to talk about poop unless you're you guys. Like, you, Kale likes to talk about her shit.
Yeah, we do.
But like, that's what I'm saying. Like, unless you're a certain type of person.
For sure.
People get really uncomfortable. Weird about it.
People do get, Oh,
I don't want to hear about your poop. Well, guess what? My whole life is poop.
It is. Yeah. What are some of those, what are some of your goals? What are some of Benjamin's goals in this advocacy journey, right? Like, what are some of those dreams that you guys have in the future?
I mean, again, I would love to expand the knowledge, right? There was one point where Benjamin had to go. It was opening day of baseball, April 8th, several years ago. And my husband was down at opening day, and we had to go to a hospital emergency room. And it's my favorite hospital. It's the one I always choose. We go there and we get into the children's ER, and the doctor goes, well, what's Hirschsprung's? And I looked, and the nurse goes, walk away. And the nurse takes the doctor out, and I am seething, right? I am like seething. And at this time, he did still have a stoma, right? So his cecostomy stoma was out. And she was like, I don't know what this is. We're going to have you go to another hospital. And like I transported myself with my son's intestines out to another hospital. And I think my passion and purpose is to educate, because not every doctor knows what Hirschsprung's is, but I do think every ER doctor should know, because parents go into the ER. I think every children's hospital ER should know what Hirschsprung's is, or have. One of the cool things that we do on the Reach HD site is you can get a passport. There's like a passport that they created so that parents can print it off and take it in, and it kind of gives like a high level of Hirschsprung's on this passport along with your kids' symptoms and stuff. But I think for my goal is definitely just continuing to spread the word, get more doctors, more medical professionals to hear the word Hirschsprung's, to understand what it is. I think Benjamin's goal is always to just make friends with everybody and just like let everybody know they're not alone. Like he is just that person that's like, hey, I want you to know that like I've been there. Like I've done that. Like I think he really wants to be like the big brother to everybody.
Yeah. How can people support the Reach HD and, give back and bring awareness outside of someone that might be going through this?
I mean, sharing the page, going to the website, even, going in and clicking on the website helps. Going in and reading our stories. If you go to reachhd.org and you go to stories, Benjamin is the cute little guy dressed in Batman. And that's his story. Like that's his story. But there's other people out there. And again, some people may have undiagnosed Hirschsprung's and be like, man, I've been living with this chronic pain. And it's just like, once you have a name to it, it's so much easier to like identify, like, here's what works for me, or here's these resources. We're branching out a lot. We're doing a lot of like, we call it coffee and conversations with doctors. And so then they go in and they, different doctors, different specialists. Again, I did the psychologist, but we've had nutritionists on there. We've had different, because there are families that have Hirschsprung's where the parents have it and then the children have it. It's like 10%. It's very rare. You know what I mean? Like, it's really kind of just a random thing in my experience, or for what our experience is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just think researching it, learning about it, talking about it, if we can just get people to talk about it. Isabel, one of the founders, she wrote 2 books. The second one just recently came out, but on Amazon. My brother has Hirschsprung's disease. A lot of times Hirschsprung's disease comes with Down syndrome. A lot of kids with Down syndrome do have Hirschsprung's disease. So like that's another thing that like not a lot of people know about.
Yeah. What is like one big thing that you hope listeners take out of this episode?
I mean, the biggest thing is just trust your gut, truly trust yourself, advocate for what you believe is right and what's best for your child. And really listen to other people and hear what they have to say and see how you can help them. Like if somebody isn't able to advocate, maybe somebody that can help, or maybe somebody that can, look into something differently. I really just think being kind, graceful, and really just knowing that you're right. You're probably right when it comes to your kids.
And if someone's looking to reach out to you, how is the best way that someone could get in touch? Whether Instagram, an email?
Well, Benjamin would love everybody to email him.
Everyone send Benjamin an email.
Yeah, can somebody please email this child?
Even just it is to say hi.
Yeah, please. I know he's so cute. So I am on Instagram, and it's just nicole.perry.18, and then reachhd.org. Anybody that has any Hirschsprung's related questions, you can submit questions there, and the doctors do review them and look at them, and we try to get back to everybody. And then Benjamin is also on Instagram, but we won't share his, but you can reach him through me or send him an email. And he already gave out his email to the whole world, so I will give out his email. It's just benjamin.perry.11@icloud.com.
Okay. shoot Benjamin an email, people, if you're listening.
Somebody.
Anything else before we wrap up that you wish you would have said or that you want people to know?
Oh, I just think there's so much, but I truly appreciate you for letting me share this. I really feel so grateful to be able to just share this, because even if this touches one person, or even if this touches 2 people, I did my job. I did what my goal was. I want to help anybody that just feels really alone in their journeys.
Yeah, absolutely. And my final question to you is, if you could tell your younger self anything, what would it be?
Oh man, that's really tough. This too shall pass. I'm like, really, this too shall pass. You'll get through it. It's so hard, but you will get through it. And it will become such a distant memory, but a happy one, right? Like, I wouldn't change anything that happened to us for the world because we learned a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Nicole, thank you so much for sharing your journey and Benjamin's incredible story with us today. Your dedication to advocating for your son and other families is truly inspiring, and I know your words will bring hope and encouragement to so many people facing similar challenges. To anyone listening, if you're fighting for answers for your child, don't give up. Trust your instincts, push for whatever they need, and know that there is a community out there that understands. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on For the Haters.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to For the Haters. Don't forget to connect with us on socials, follow, like, and share to help more people find this community, and remember, they're not alone. And if you haven't yet, join our Facebook group. We'd love to have you there. The more we grow, the more lives we can impact.
What's your name and share your story? We'll be waiting.